Hey everybody, my name is Casey and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be decorating the outside of Melba's house. So this is the area that I have to work with, and let's go ahead and get to decorating. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I release speed builds and island tours every week. So the first thing that I am going to do is just round off this little cliff edge right here. It just really bothers me when the cliff edges are pointy. And then I kind of have a general idea of what I want to put to the right of Melba's house. I want to do a little seating area, maybe put like a little music area right there on top of a blanket. So right now I am just laying down the fringe for the blanket. I want the blanket to be a little bit wider because I want to add on some more patterns on top of it. So now that I have the pattern laid down, I am just going to go ahead and place some of the items down and then add in the extra pattern that I was talking about. I really like using these two tiles that are part of like a 4-tile pattern code. I think it just looks really nice when it is put on the bottom of a blanket code. So here I am just filling it in with some more items. I want to have it be kind of like an elegant little painting area. I'm just kind of messing around with the placement of the hat right there, and then I switched out the white piano for the tan one, and now I'm just kind of going in and filling in with flowers and then putting that really pretty tea set on top of that rattan end table. And now I am just decorating some more cliff tops and adding in that music stand. This area was probably my favorite area to decorate because I had a clear idea of what I wanted to do ahead of time. But as you'll see throughout the build, I kind of semi-struggled with figuring out what to do for the rest of her area. So I now have this area how I want it for the most part, and I'm just coming back over here and working on this little transition area. This area is a little, it's not really a land bridge, but I mean kind of is. It's right behind Daisy's house, and I'm just laying down this brick path. I actually switched out the brick path that I was using before this because I mentioned this in my last video, but I want to add in some more elements of vintage core, and I think this brick path just seems a little bit more vintage core, and it also looks nicer. I mean, I really like the other path that I was using, but this, I just like how it's less worn brick and it's more kind of full. And so what I am doing right here is just adding in some waterscaping to kind of break up all of this land right here. That is another thing that I've been trying to add in a lot on my island is waterscaping. Like I had mentioned in some of my earlier videos, I want to be able to have my two river mouths connecting, and I believe right now I do have that. So yeah, I'm just adding in some more water terraforming. So right here I am struggling a bit with some of my waterscaping. This area was just kind of an awkward area to work with as far as waterscaping, but it does eventually come together. I just need to do a little bit of trial and error. So I am just putting in the finishing touches on the waterscaping, and then I'm going to go ahead and continue to decorate this transition area right here, just putting down a piece of fencing, and then I am just laying out some flowers next to Melba's house, and then I want to add in a little bit of this light dirt pathing. I really love this path code. I will leave it in the description below, but it just really kind of meshes in with that vintage core theme. So another thing I want to mention is that I was debating not leaving in this part in the video, but I think it's important to leave in because when you decorate the area behind a villager's house or whatever you're working on, it really helps make the area look nice and full. So I always be sure to do that in all of my builds, is make sure I'm decorating kind of just like every single area that I possibly can. And then for this little area, I am laying down this really pretty lace circular code, and then I'm going to just put down these clotheslines because I have that old-fashioned wash tub right there. So you know, I could figure someone is just like doing their laundry here and then laying in the hammock in front, just relaxing while they're waiting for their laundry to air dry. Also just wanted to mention that my island is probably like 70% finished, so I was just wondering if you all would be interested in a little update tour of my island. If that is something that you are interested in, please feel free to leave a comment below and I can definitely give you all a little tour. So this is the other area that I mentioned earlier in the build that I did end up struggling with. I just was unsure of what exactly to go ahead and put here, but you will kind of see me work through a couple different ideas, but I'm really happy with how the end result came out looking. So at first I am trying this tulip rug with the wedding arch, and I just don't like how that looks, so I am testing out another blanket code. I think the reason why I struggled a bit with this area was because the items that I were using were just a bit too bulky for this small little space next to her house. So here I'm just trying to see what I can do with another blanket code, this lighter yellow one, and then I'm trying to go in and adjust some of the terraforming to see if I can make some more room to extend out that blanket so it's 4 tiles by 2 instead of 3 by 2. So I'm just going in and trying to terraform some of these cliffs. I have run into the issue with terraforming a lot on this island since I do want to have all my rivers connecting. But here we are, and we have the wedding bench laid down. I really wanted to try and incorporate that Papa Bear, but unfortunately it was just too big. And then I was thinking I could make this area kind of like an extended part of the area that I first made, that little piano area next to her house, but I don't know why. It's just like all the items I was using, they were either way too big or too small, so I mean, that's typical for me when I'm doing these smaller areas. I typically just end up playing around with a bunch of different items and codes until I can find a combination of items and codes that I like together. And even here you can see I'm trying to mess around a bit more with some terraforming, seeing if adding in some waterscaping will make the area look a little bit better. But unfortunately, I'm still just not happy with how this is turning out. I even try and make the blanket smaller again to see if that looks better because I'm using such small items, but I can't get it to how I want it, so I just wind up throwing down this log bench right here and then moving around that Zen cushion with the ukulele on top of it, and then placing down a couple more items. And honestly, I just kind of am over it at this point, so I move back on to this area and I start decorating it, because I feel like when I'm struggling with an area, if I work on it for too long, I just start to get a little bit burnt out. So it's always nice to kind of give yourself a break and start and work on another area or go back to an area that you were working on previously. So right here, I am just trying to pick a umbrella pattern that I like to place down. I really like this rose umbrella. I feel like it fits in nicely with Melba's house. It matches kind of the same pink tones, so I do wind up keeping that umbrella down there, and now I'm just moving on to decorating right next to her house. So right here I am going to go ahead and start laying down this grass pathing. I still am unsure of what I want to do for that area where I have that log couch down next to Melba's house. I don't really like how that looks, and I don't really like that combination of items together, but I just figured that I would start working on these smaller sections that are right in front of her house before I go ahead and figure out what I want to do there. I do wind up doing something completely different, and it does turn out really nicely, but it just took me a bit of time to get to that point where I liked it. So right here there is a little space that's open in this little 1x1 tile next to her house, or I think it's 1x3 actually. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill this in with a mush log and then use the sparkling cider on top of it. I feel like it fits in really well with the other items next to it. I do think going forward, if I ever am struggling with an area like that, I'm gonna just try and completely rethink the whole design, because that's what I ended up doing. I'm gonna just take everything out and take away all the design codes and just start from scratch again. And then right now I am just going to lay down a little circular lace code and put a tiny library on top of it. And then I am going to finally come back over here and pick up these items and start with my new idea. So I'm really excited to kind of explain this idea and walk you through my thought process here. So since I was kind of struggling with using the in-game items like I had mentioned earlier in the video, they were either too big or too small, I decided to go ahead and give Melba a little garden. So that way I'm just going to be mainly using flowers to fill in this area here. I want to use some pretty colored ones. And then I can go ahead and fill in some of the spaces between the flowers with some kind of smaller items as well. On my old island, I had a lot of different little flower shops and garden areas, and I don't know why I haven't done many of those on this island. I think it's just because I've switched up my theme a little bit, but I definitely want to try and incorporate some more of these little garden areas or flower shops because they're so perfect for these kind of weird spaces that you need to fill in. So I definitely recommend just building a little garden if you are struggling with a smaller area. Another thing I just wanted to add, when making gardens like this, I'm a big fan of adding in items to kind of break up the flowers a little bit. Like I have that mum cushion, and then I think it's called the hand cart, and then I'm going to try and incorporate a little cushion with a watering can on top of it. Like I said, I just think it's nice to break up the area, and then also using a Cosmo shower in the garden. I just think that's so perfect because it's watering the flowers for you. So now that I have the garden how I want it, I am going to just go ahead and see if I can fit in a wedding arch, but unfortunately it is a little bit too big for this area. So I'm going to just lay down this little flower circle code right here and then fill in the area with some bushes. And then at first I test out this simple well right on top of that flower code, but it's too small. I need something with a little bit of height, so I wind up going with this brick well. I just wish that I could center it perfectly on top of that flower circle, but you can't, so it's fine. So right here, I am just going to go back in and put in some of that country fencing, and then I decided I wanted to have this brick pathing here. I just feel like it matches a little bit better, so I'm going to just kind of mess around and see how I want to lay this brick pathing out. And then of course I have to add in this cute little squirrel code. I will always love that code, it's just so adorable. And then I am just trying to fix up some of that terraforming. I just can't get it to work because of the trees, so I wind up having to kind of break into the path that I was laying down, and now I'm just trying to make it so it looks a little bit better right here. And then here I am going to just go ahead and put down this plastic container, is that what it's called, or canister, kind of just like to make it look a little more realistic and like an actual garden. And then I decide to go ahead and remove that tiny library and lay down that book code right there. I really love that book code, it's so cute. And now I'm just trying to think of some items to put here. I wind up keeping that flower there. I just think it looks good. It's not too tall. And then I move the ukulele over here. And now I'm going to just go ahead and start working on some of the other pathing that I want to go ahead and lead through here. I really love these log planks right here. I actually am using two different planks by two different creators. I will link the codes to those in the description as well, but I feel like they look similar enough, but the tones are a little bit different. But I feel like that's alright because it kind of breaks up the planks a little bit more and makes it look maybe a little bit more like realistic, like you have some older planks and some planks that are a little bit newer. So right here I'm just taking a look at how it's looking so far, and now I'm going to go ahead and start filling in more of this area behind Melba's house. Like I mentioned earlier, I want it to feel really full and look nice and lush, like a Springcore forest, if you will. So I'm just adding in a bunch of different trees and flowers back here. And I try to make it so the trees aren't all of the same type of trees that are right next to each other. I know I've mentioned that before in some of my other videos. And then I do like to just go ahead and add in some items to kind of break up the trees and the flowers a little bit. I am also just going to use this umbrella code that looks like a white camellia bush. I really love that code, and it's actually done by one of my friends on Instagram, so I will link her Instagram account below as well. And then right here, I am just kind of moving around the placement of some of these trees and adding in a couple more flowers. I did want to go ahead and be able to fit in an extra cedar tree right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and put down the tiny library up here. I just think it looks a bit nicer on top of this cliff. So now we are kind of getting closer towards the end of the build. I really just have to go in and fill in some of the space around here with some more flowers and items and pathing. But I just wanted to say, if you enjoy my videos and you enjoyed this speed build, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, as it really helps support my channel. And I really appreciate all of you that have subscribed so far. Thank you so much. It's really a big dream of mine to do YouTube full time, so I'm hoping that one day I can eventually get to that point. So when I was looking at this hay bed, I didn't like that it didn't have a code underneath it, so that's why I just decided to come up here and lay down one of these little plaid rugs and put the hay bed back on top of it. I just think it looks a little bit nicer with a code under it. And then I am just removing that yellow hyacinth and then replacing it with a butterfly model. I feel like it makes it look a lot better instead of having two yellow flowers right next to each other. And then I really just have to go in and fill in a couple more flowers around this pathing, and I will give you all the final tour. Okay, so here we are. I time traveled a couple days to have all the flowers grow in, and then I went back to around 6:30 in the morning. I am really pleased with how this ended up turning out. It was a little bit of a struggle, but you know, I made it work. I really like all of the items right here. I feel like it matches really well next to Melba's house. And then if we go ahead and go along with this way, there is that little river that breaks up some of the land right there. And like I mentioned, the trees in the background, that is why I be sure to make sure every area is filled in all the way. And then I also have Ozzy's house right behind Melba's. I just did a villager hunt for him, so I am so excited that I found him again. I will link that villager hunt at the top of this video. So yeah, that is pretty much everything for this speed build. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, please go ahead and leave a like on it and subscribe to my YouTube channel. But other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!